a kind, more like the people in the world seeking perspectives with a different line. The kids who share the interest together with a similar kind. When they said John Glover for Spider-Man, they didn't mind. The activists, directors, comments and the lectures, fanboys, professional artists and professors. Maybe a nerd who's just like you, talking about the things that you like too. So I invite you to the NOC.
Hello everyone and welcome to Hard Knock Life. I'm Valerie Complex. So thank you and welcome. We have some very special guests on tonight's show because we're going to be talking about whitewashing in Hollywood and entertainment, with the newest violation being A Ghost in the Shell starring Scarlett Asian Johansson. I started the the movement on Twitter using the Ghost in the Shell meme generator against the whole marketing campaign. I guess I'm now the enemy of Scarlett Johansson. I'm just gonna have everybody introduce themselves and give a little bit about what they do, and we'll continue the discussion from there. So whoever wants to go first.
Okay, I'm Clara May. I'm a pop culture and media writer. I write mainly for women, write about comics, but I also have bylines in bitch flicks and of course Nerds of Color. And I grew up in the Bay Area and currently I live and work in San Francisco.
I'm Ashikin Harun. You can call me Ashi. That's what most people call me. I'm the creative director for Geeks of Color. And I was born and raised in Singapore, and I'm currently in Melbourne, Australia for studies.
Lee, want to tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, I'm a reformed lawyer. I grew up in Australia, and now I'm an actor of sorts. I guess most people probably know me from Man in the High Castle, where I play Sergeant Yoshida.
Mr. Louis Tan, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do. And
my name is Louis Tan, and I'm an actor.
I'm just going to get right into it. Like I said, the newest Hollywood violation is Ghost in the Shell, starring Scarlett Johansson. I mainly made a big stink about it because I'm a big fan of the property. I've been watching anime for, I don't know, like 25 years now, and that's one of my favorites. Motoko Kusanagi is the name of the character, the major. Presumably, you would think it was a Japanese woman, but Hollywood went and casted Scarlett. When you heard the news about her casting, what was the first thing you thought when you heard, oh wow, Scarlett Johansson, Ghost in the Shell? Ashley, tell me what you were thinking when you first heard about that casting. I'm
not that familiar with Ghost in the Shell. I didn't really read the manga or watch the anime, but I mean, I googled the character up and I'm like, oh, her name is Motoko Kusanagi. Okay, so she has to be Asian, right? She has to be Japanese. And then I heard that Scarlett Johansson was casted and I'm like, really? Like, that doesn't make any sense, I guess. But yeah, I did a video for school about Orientalism, so I talked a lot about Scarlett Johansson as the major, and it's just like she basically stole the role from an Asian woman, basically. Pretty much.
But she says it's about feminism. It's it's not about race. It's more about me being a woman. What do you think about that, Clara? What do you think about her comments about feminism over race and diversity?
I mean, it's frustrating because there are women of color, they do exist, and women of color have to deal with sexism and racism, the intersection of those two things. So to separate them out and say it's only for feminism and she took the role to make more, female protagonists, that's the definition of white feminism, when you don't acknowledge that you can have a woman of color as a protagonist, and and you can explore both gender and race at the same time.
What about you, Louis? What were your thoughts, your ideas on this casting? It seems like it's like one after the other. First the Great Wall, and now this.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's been happening for years, even before that. So, I'm a big fan of Ghost in the Shell. God, I probably saw the anime when I was a teenager, you know. It's still one of my favorite animes of all times. So yeah, I mean, it hurt me when that happened, but I'm used to it. I think it's been happening for years. It's not a new thing. I honestly wasn't shocked, but it was definitely disappointed. It's a missed opportunity is what it is.
I know, and I said it before, and I'll say it again. You know, I understand that they, you know, cast Scarlett Johansson in the role. I actually expected a better actress. Like, you know, sure, I'm not a millionaire making money, but I don't think, even if I was thinking in terms of someone white, I just didn't, it didn't click with Scarlett Johansson. But with the announcement of that, and now we have like Iron Fist, and we have the Great Wall that just flopped, and we have you know, Ghost in the Shell. The idea of Hollywood bankability, you know, that excuse exists.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of what Hollywood's been doing for a long time. You know, they take a project that's famous in a different country and they redo it the way that they think is going to be the most marketable. And sometimes that has gone and worked for them, but I think most recently it's been failing. And I think the reason why it's been failing is because people want to see themselves represented properly. Maybe in the past there wasn't enough opportunity for that, but now there is. So I think that people are sick of it. It's
Right.
showing.
I mean, Clara, what do you think? You know, it is showing, because you have things like, you know, Get Out, movies like Get Out, and Hidden Figures that have, you know, mainly all Black cast, and they're successful. But then the excuse people use is nobody wants some Japanese actress that we don't know about. I mean, how does that make you feel, Clara, when you hear stuff like that?
Yeah, I think it's really frustrating because I mean, first of all, I think one of the problems is if you look at who the studio execs are and who most of the directors and writers are, they're mostly white men, you know, and, you know, USC and UCLA, they put out these studies every year, and they find that, like, there's just not enough minority creators in the behind the scenes, you know? So I think when you have a behind the scenes crew that's all white, in their mind, they don't see any value in having, you know, a minority protagonist, because maybe that's outside of their realm of experience. You know, all of their friends are white. And in the past, they've seen that white protagonists sell, you know, so it's a cycle of they keep justifying it by what has worked in the past, you know, without acknowledging that we're moving forward and the demographics are changing.
Ashi, what do you think about this whole bankability aspect? I know the Geeks of Color do, you know, a lot of fan casting often, mainly with actors of color. So this whole idea of bankability seems kind of like a joke. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think if it's like stories that revolve around like POC culture, and you have a white actor or a white actress right at the front of it, it doesn't really, the film's gonna flop like a fish out of water, basically. Like, you know, you've got actors and actresses like you've got Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. He pretty much made BVS amazing. And then we're gonna have Jason Momoa as Aquaman, and then we also had Rinko Kikuchi in Pacific Rim, and she made that film amazing as well. So the idea of white Hollywood bankability is a bit, I don't know, it doesn't make sense to me.
I think a lot of people think that she should have been cast anyway.
Yeah, I've seen like Photoshop versions of that photo of Scarlett Johansson, and I think that Rinko should have been the major, like from the start.
Well, I don't know what happened there, but and you know, you in particular have been really vocal, you know, about opportunities for people in Hollywood, you know, with Twitter conversation you had recently with actor Iron Fist Finn Jones. Can you talk a little bit about that conversation and what the point you were trying to get across?
Well, when I first tweeted out, "Are you for real?" I wasn't expecting a reply at all, because why would he reply? He's busy with Iron Fist and the Defenders, so why would he bother checking his mentions for like some person just, you know, quoting his tweet with are you for real? It's nothing serious, but I don't know. It just got out of hand, I guess, and I was just trying to bring across my point that people want to be represented, and like this petition and this campaign for an Asian Iron Fist it's been going on since like 2014. It's not something new, and people are like coming up to me and saying, "Oh, do you know that Danny has been white ever since like the beginning?" And I'm like, "Yes, I know. He's my favorite superhero. I know that he has been white all this time, and I know from the very beginning that it's got like racist connotations to it." So I'm just trying to bring this point across to Finn, but I guess he got defensive and he thought that I was attacking him, which I wasn't at all. We were just having a very civil discussion, but with like online stuff as well, fans and stuff will they'll read it the wrong way, and they just thought that I was harassing him, which I wasn't.
Yeah, that you were harassing him or whatever. People are weird on the internet. Anyway, when we talk about like bankability and then we talk about the fans that keep saying, "Oh, he's white" or whatever, Lewis, do you mind telling us a little bit about your audition experience and the ideas that from what I've read, I could be wrong, you initially went and auditioned for the role of Danny Rand, and then you were casted in another part. What were you hoping to accomplish, by auditioning for the lead role, in terms of Iron Fist and sort of changing that narrative?
Oh, I just thought it was a cool opportunity. I mean, I know Danny's white in the comic book. Everybody knows that. I thought it was a cool opportunity. Being mixed Asian myself, I think a storyline about an Asian American guy who's not connected to his Asian roots and then goes and connects with his Asian roots, or learns martial arts and comes back and discovers things about himself that he might not have known before that were always there. That's a really cool dynamic, and I think that was a missed opportunity in my mind. But I see why they went with a Caucasian actor, because the character is Caucasian. So but I went for the audition. I did my best. I always offer something interesting and different. Obviously, I can do my own martial arts and my own action scenes. I think that brings a lot to the character, especially when it's an action show. I like to add a lot of things into my characters using physicality. So if you're doing an action show and you can do your own action, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I felt like I had a lot to offer, and they were really interested in me for quite some time. It got to the point where they were talking about scheduling and things like that. So once they start to discuss scheduling, it's kind of like that's the last step. You know what I mean? So it was close. So that's kind of what I said on Twitter. I just said I read for the role, and they were interested for a moment in time, and they passed, and they went with Finn. And then I auditioned for a different role, and that was the role that I landed, which is a really cool role too. I mean, look, I'm just an actor. I'm an Asian American actor, and I've been dealing with this my whole life. And before me, I was dealing it with with my father, like my father was dealing with it. So it's not something new to me. So it's more fuel to the fire in my mind. I just make my craft stronger. I make my physical ability stronger. I make my acting abilities stronger. So when I get in the room, there's no denying that I'm not qualified, or there's no denying that there's the talent's not there, or the character's not there, or the physical abilities are not there. It's all there because I work hard for that. So it's a shame, because I feel like I could have offered a lot, but the critics and the reviews are kind of in already, and hopefully the fans will make their own choices, make their own opinions about it.
Right. Fans are pretty vocal, but I think I want to make it clear that critics are fans too.
Absolutely. They are. They absolutely are. And a lot of the critics that were tearing it apart were Caucasian critics. They're not even.
Oh yeah. I can't wait until I see some folks of color start to kiki about this whole
Yeah,
thing.
that hasn't even happened yet. That's going to be the scary one.
From your perspective as an actor and as a lawyer, like the things that you've seen in the industry, from representation and things of that nature, and then, being, almost getting the role and then them going with you know, with Finn. What do you think about all of that, and how the, you know, how the business sort of goes on ignoring sort of opportunities, especially for, you know, for Asian actors in general?
Yeah, look, I got to say first, straight up, I just caught the tail end of what Lewis was saying, and you know, so much respect, because I think that's kind of like the attitude I take as well, right? Like, it does suck, and a lot of the times you miss out, and these things happen. But you know, rather than focus on the externals, all you know, a lot of us can really do as actors is just focus on the craft and focus on the things that we can control, so that whenever you were given a chance to step up to the plate, you will hit it out of the park, and then it's up to them to pass on you, and you can kind of walk away feeling in some ways like me, because I feel like I've done the best I can, and I'm qualified, and I've brought a lot to the role. So I really respect that, man. So yeah,
Dude, that's 100% exactly what he said is spot on. That's spot on. And then, you know, when you do get offered something, you bring that heat, and you bring a dynamic that they go, oh shit, maybe I should have given that dude a bigger part, or like, maybe, you know, maybe we'll keep him in mind for this other thing, or just whatever, or just people just like it and they talk about it. You know, that's my goal. I just want everybody to see everything that I do and make it different each time, and make it interesting each time, you know? So, you know, exactly what Lee was saying is on point, and that's unfortunately what we have to do at this point. But I will say, I'm super positive. Like, times are changing. Even in the last year and a half, I felt the energy shift, and I feel like we're going to get the representation that we deserve, but we do have to keep talking about it.
And I think social media has been a big part of that, that shift. And getting the message out there, because they're seeing and they're watching what people are saying, you know, despite it may not, you may not always get a response like Ashe did, but they're watching and they're paying attention.
Ashe, troublemaker, you troublemaker.
Didn't do anything wrong.
I think what you did, you know, you spoke up. And I know a lot of, and that was, you know, and that goes into what my next question about the fans, and how fans sort of interpreted your exchange with Finn, that it was like harassment. I saw comments about people, you know, telling him to call the cops and report your profile and things like that. And I don't, and yeah, they did. Clara, I don't know if you got a chance to see her exchange with Finn. But there's this idea, that overwhelming idea, that for some reason white is right. And I don't know if you guys are anime fans, but people are convinced that because the way that Motoko Kusanagi was drawn back in 2010, that's the way all anime is drawn, and they're all drawn to look like Europeans. What is your take on that?
I think it's ridiculous. I think it's ridiculous that people think that an Eastern country would center a Western country as their audience. You know, like, just because a character, I mean, like, anime characters have like blue hair, purple eyes, you know, so for them to interpret any character with, I don't know, wide eyes is what they always point to as being white, is just, it's crazy. And then they say, oh, they have light skin, so they must be white. But I mean, like, have you seen Asians? I mean, like, plenty of them have light skin, and it's just, it's so strange that they think that, one, they're centered, and then they also think that American comic books belong to them. So then they also get upset when we ask about race bending. So it's like, in both scenarios, they just want it's an only the main audience. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is. I mean, Ashe, what do you think? What do you think about that? Why do you think racially ambiguous characters means that they're white? Because, you know, from all the adaptations that have come out, Fist of the North Star, the Speed Racer, to what's that other one coming out? Death Note. Why is the default only white? What do you think, Ashe? Why do you think the default is just only white when there's so many other people?
This is a good question.
I think
it's an unanswerable question.
Yeah, it's a lot of Orientalism and colonialism, and a lot of people see things, see everything that's in the media through an Orientalist lens. So what we see that is that the standard and the norm is white, but that's not the case. Because obviously, if you know the entire world, it's majority of people are not white. So it's art isn't imitating life in a way, I guess. But because of colonialism and stuff like that, it's just the norm and the standards are just white. So people kind of internalize that from the beginning. And right now, it's just, you got to unlearn all those stuff.
Right, because, blonde hair is not exclusive to white people.
Exactly.
I want to play a cowboy so bad. And I just feel like I'm never going to get to play a cowboy.
Hey, man, Lee Byung-hun, Magnificent Seven, he did it.
What, Byung-hun?
Yeah, sort of.
In Good, the Bad, and the Weird?
Well,
No, Magnificent Seven.
The remake of
Like
Magnificent
Seven.
Yeah.
The Good, the Bad, and the Weird, that's the dopest Asian Western of all times.
Byung did it, but he's one man. What about everybody else?
I'm just saying, it's possible, man. It's possible.
Thanks, brother.
Just quickly on the Ghost in the Shell and the Eurocentric kind of art thing, I find it interesting because even if you look at like this particular adaptation, that whole thing doesn't hold up because you have like an Asian actor playing the Colonel Arakami, and you have an Asian actor playing Psycho. So then, what's the deal there? If you're saying that the art style of the anime and the manga makes them white, but then you have these Asian actors playing in the movie, but it's only okay for Scarlet. Even within the singular adaptation, there's inherent like logic flaws.
It's weird because it feels like tokenism. They got Takeshi Kitano to be Aramaki, and they got Shin Han, who I think is from Singapore, to play Togusa. And then they have another Asian character of Pazu, but they have leading this whole entire group that's mainly people of color. And then you have the reverse situation where there seems to be a black actor in the role of Ishikawa. That doesn't seem fair to me either. Some people have argued with me that names do not denote nationality and that it's racist of me to assume things like that. But, it still takes agency away from an Asian actor, even if you put somebody black in the role. It just seems weird to me. And it's both Iron Fist and Ghost in the Shell are fine surrounding POC as long as the hero is white. Mm-hmm. So can you explain that?
No, honestly, that's the problem, I think. They're always happy for us to be the supporting cast and the bit players and the best friends and the sidekicks, but you can't be the hero.
Why, Lewis? Why do you think we can't be the hero? What's the problem?
They're scared.
Of what?
No, I'm just kidding.
No, let's examine that. Let's unpack that. What would they be afraid of?
I mean, look, you want to talk realistically. It all comes down to money at the end of the day, right? So when they see that the Great Wall flops, or they see that, the shows with these the Asian stories that with the white protagonists flop, that's when they start to think about it, and that's when they start to reconsider things. You know what I mean? So it all comes down to money. I mean, if you take Iron Fist for an example, like they were considering Asian American, right? So at some point they're sitting in those boardrooms discussing that fact, and they're saying, okay, well, what are the pros and cons of this? Well, people are going to be upset because Danny Rand's white in the comic, blah, blah, blah. What are the pros of this? Well, we could create a different kind of dynamic, and the defenders would look different, and there's a lot of pros to it as well. So, at the end of the day, they get scared and they go, no, let's stick to what we have been doing. And now that system is failing. So I think the future is going to be bright because people like you and people like all you guys are speaking up about it.
And for the ladies, I mean, what do you think? Because what Lewis is saying, it's true that they're afraid, but it doesn't seem like their money is a big, huge motivator because they keep doing this. It's been happening for too long, and it's still happening. And it's still happening. There's things coming out in the future. So, Ashi, what do you think? What do you think they're so afraid of?
I really have no idea. I mean, it brings about great opportunities, and you're gonna have POC audience like actually go out and watch the movies and stuff like that, and you'll get more revenue in that way. But maybe it's got to do with pride or something, and they're just like, this used to work, so it probably still will work, even though we know for a fact that it won't. And they're just at this point just beating a dead horse, and they should just give it up, really.
You know, they think whiteness is money, that it's the bottom line. What do you think, Clara? I mean, why do you think it's something that continues to stick despite the hundreds of millions of dollars lost at the box office?
Actually, it's funny that you mentioned the box office, because so I looked at the films, like, Prince of Persia, The Lone Ranger, The Last Airbender, all films that had a whitewashed character.
Dragon Ball Z.
Oh yeah,
Dragon Ball Z. And yeah, so all of these films, they bombed critically and financially in the US. But then when you look at the international box office, they actually did pretty well, and they actually made their money back through the international market. So I think from a purely numbers standpoint, Hollywood doesn't see them as a failure. It's a failure in the US, but in the in the worldwide sense, they're still making bank off of these things. So I think it's just all about numbers to them.
But can I just say one thing? How much more money would they make in the international box office?
No, I definitely.
So that's what it comes down to, because look, they don't have content, so they get whatever they get. Of course, they're gonna watch Airbender and Dragon Ball Z and all these other movies. You know what I mean? And they make their money back. They don't have any other content, so they watch it. But then imagine if they were seeing themselves represented as heroes, as love interests, protagonist characters in these stories. I mean, people are going to be, it affects generations, not just us, you know what I mean? It affects the younger generations. And I got younger brothers, and it's like, I think about that. I'm like, who are they looking up at, and who can they see themselves being when they're in school, all the heroes and all the superheroes, and they don't see themselves there? And then, I mean, that must be really damaging, right? Like, that's crazy. How is it 2017 and they can't see themselves represented that way? It's going to give them confidence, and it's important. You know what I mean?
Lee, I don't know if you can comment on it, but do you feel like, there's a bit of relegation to stereotypical roles constantly? Or do you think that people are just not casting people of color, specifically Asians, at all?
Well, I mean, when you look at the stats, there's not a lot of Asian roles. I mean, I think 40% of films last year didn't feature a single Asian character. I think we only have 6% of the speaking roles on television. So I think there is a lack of Asian roles, and I think, there's a lot that tend to be very stereotypical. But again, I think Lewis is right too. I sense a change as well. I see more open ethnicity casting breakdowns, and granted, I must confess, a lot of those roles that I do go for, I see who they cast and it ends up being a white guy. But at the same time, 10 years ago, we wouldn't have even been in the mix. So inevitably, if they keep calling me in, they'll keep calling Lewis in, and we keep doing a good job, someone is going to see that consistent work and be like, you know what, this is the project for them. All these other people are past, rookie mistake, now we got something for you. I think it has to happen eventually.
And when you guys, when everyone's talked about change, what do you think about getting POC behind the scenes, directors, writers, and things like that? Do you think that's important to the progression of seeing more POC on screen or in front of the camera?
1000%.
Look at how.
I mean, if you look at what they did with.
No, I was going to say Gio did with Luke Cage, and yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say too.
Boom.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, with Black Panther and Luke Cage, I mean, you can tell that having a Black creator made a huge difference in terms of casting and authentic writing and feeling like it was an authentic, Black experience. And I think that's what Asian actors need.
I know, Lewis, you seem to be working with Lexi Alexander, and everybody kind of want to know what you guys got cooking.
It's a secret.
Are you able? Okay. See, it's a secret. So I'm not
we were shooting last night. We were shooting last night till really late, so that's why I'm kind of tired, a little bit delirious. Yeah, Lexi is a huge advocate for, you know, seeing people of color in behind the camera and in front of the camera. She's a talented girl, and she's super cool, and we're both martial artists, so we get along really well. And yeah, people on Twitter put us together, and we had a meeting, and we started creating, and I think we started shooting like 2 weeks after our meeting. We got something coming for you guys.
We can't know what it is though.
We got something coming for you guys. It's going to be at the end of March, but I'd rather not say about it just yet.
Okay, make sure we get the exclusive.
No, hands down, of course.
So I guess I have, you know, 2 more questions, and I'm wondering, have you seen the fan reaction to castings with Danny Rand and with Scarlett Johansson and Ghost in the Shell? What's the one thing that stands out that you've maybe read or that you've maybe seen that sort of kind of shocked you? Like, well, that's not something that you thought about. I was like, well, maybe they're right. For example, somebody did say to me, I was talking about, you know, I said, if you know any white women with the name Motoko Kusanagi, please introduce me. And then they said I was being racist because names should not be prevalent to skin color and to race,
Well,
because maybe they have a
stretch.
point. I was gonna say maybe they have a point, but I think that's like stretch Armstrong.
Let's just keep it real. If I saw a white girl and she introduced herself and that was her name, there's no way that I'm not going to think, well, that's interesting. That's different. I mean, come on now. Let's be real.
Of course it would be interesting.
That's a stretch.
It is, because like when you look at people like Rachel Dolezal, who just changed her name to something else, and then you are like, okay, well, that's really interesting, but
that's a stupid argument. But let me just say this, okay? You don't get a lot of opportunities. Like Lee was saying, we don't get a lot of opportunities. Ghost in the Shell is one of the biggest animes of all times in Japan. That's an opportunity for us. So when that gets taken away, it might only be one small thing, and there might be all these excuses for it. We feel that hurts. Because Ghost in the Shell is huge for us, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That was an opportunity. And then so when there's another opportunity for it, like if you give a kid 50 Christmas presents and you take away 2 of them, he's probably not going to be tripping. But if he only has 2 Christmas presents and you take both of those presents away, he's going to be mad, right?
Well, you know, because I don't know if you guys know much about the story of Ghost in the Shell, but it contains a lot of Japanese folklore. And a lot of it centers around Motoko being Japanese. The theme song to the original 1995 film is a Japanese song about marriage and sort of history. But people throw that out the window to show me like one picture, you know, of when she may have been drawn a certain way. But the thing is, the most important thing is going forward. What do you think? And I want to hear each of you comment. What do you think is the best thing going forward for inclusion in more Asian-centered stories and just stories in general? Ashi, what do you think is the key to not having this happen again going forward?
Quite simple, really. You just have to cast more Asian actors. You have more a more diverse team behind the camera, in front of the camera, and if you have like diversity, even with the team creating the content, then you're going to ensure that people are going to be represented. So if you want art to imitate life, then make it so.
Yeah, I mean, I think creators of color just need to keep creating like they have been, keep putting out their best work. I also think that, you know, white allies need to step up and, you know, if there's a project that comes up, maybe look outside their usual circle and try to recommend, you know, a person of color for that job, because I do think Hollywood is a lot of nepotism and, you know, we can do our best on our end, but we do need, you know, we need help and we need support.
Yeah, you know, both those things. I think definitely more people of color behind the camera and creating helps because they have a better grip on the material. They're more sensitive to things and they see things from a different lens that, you know, traditionally straight white males don't. And then I think the other thing is I want more Asian actors or people of color in front of the camera because I don't just want us to have Asian stories. You know, I don't want us just to have characters that are Asian. But that's an important part of their conflict and their journey and their story. I want to that guy's just Asian. he's the lead on the show, he's the regular on the show, and just Asian. There's places too where obviously you want it to be an integral part of that character's journey, but I want both of narratives and characters. That truly means we've made it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, you mean you three laid it out. That's it. Especially Lee, I agree with you 100%, man. It's like one day I just want to live in a world where I'm just an actor. I'm not an Asian actor. I'm just an actor. I mean, everybody's different, man. We're all mixed. We're all from different parts of the world in strange ways. I was born in England, you know what I mean? I was raised in Asia, in England, in LA, in France. So what? You know, I have to be specific for the character. That's pretty detailed. You know, I'm just an actor. I'm just a person. I can take on many different roles and many different characters in many different ways. So, you know, that's it. Once that day comes, then yeah, then the change has been made fully. I think I agree 100%. But I would say to what we need to do to going forward, keep talking about it.
Absolutely. And speak with your money, because money talks and bullshit walks.
Oh yeah, that too.
But time is going and I don't want to keep you guys too long. So I just want everybody to be able to give their social media handles and what projects they're working on, and where people and fans can find you if they want, to follow up with updates.
Can I just say something real quick though before we do that?
Yeah. What's up?
I just got to say the Black community has come out and supported the Asian actors and Asian American actors, and it's been like really inspiring and kind of emotional for me, because I get tweets all the time and like 50% of them are from the Black community, and that's really amazing that you guys are coming out and stepping up for us. I think that's dope, and when I think about it, it makes me emotional, because I think it's just really beautiful to see.
I think the important thing is that, people of color stick together, and that, we're all connected on a unified front, because I think together we're louder than the status quo. And I think that will send a message. And I think it's been working, especially on social media, where we get together and we say, hey, we're not going to stand for this anymore. We're not going to take it anymore. We want to see ourselves, and we want to see others in our position in marginalized communities. This doesn't just go to people of color. It goes to the LGBT community, the disabled community, sex workers, even. It goes to anybody who's in a marginalized community. So I think, that's the bigger picture that I see for the future, and that I hope for the future. But Louis, well, where can people find you, and where can they connect with you, and tell us what you're working on that's coming up in the future?
Well, you can watch the Marvel's Iron Fist March 17th, and Louis Tan Official on Instagram, and the Louis Tan on Twitter. That's it.
Ashi, tell the people where they can find you.
You can follow Geeks of Color on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And you can follow me at Ashikin Harun, ASYIQIN HARON, on Instagram and Twitter as well.
Clara, where can the people read your work, and where can they find updates?
They could follow me on Twitter at Ube Empress, and they can follow Women Write About Comics, is where all my stuff is. And currently I'm working on reviewing more zines and films by Asian women, so keep an eye out for that.
Let's add you right now.
And Lee, what's up? Where can people find you?
Okay, yeah, so you can follow me on Twitter or Instagram. Both handles are LC Shorten. Catch me on Man in High Castle on Amazon. If you go to Amazon Prime, I think it's available worldwide now, both seasons. Great. One question for Ashi before we go. Pineapples on pizza.
Oh no, don't bring this up.
You gotta answer.
For like a few weeks. It's just split half and half. I don't want to say. It's in my Twitter bio, so.
I don't trust people that put pineapple on pizza. I don't trust them.
Just I found them.
It's nasty. And I just want to wrap it up and say you can find me on Twitter at Valerie Complex, on Instagram at Valerie_Complex. If you Google Valerie Complex, I'll come up. If you want to know more about the Ghost in the Shell Meme generator, it's IamMajor.me, I think. Create your own, send a message to Hollywood, let them know that you want to see more representation. And don't forget to follow the Nerds of Color on Twitter at the Nerds of Color, all one word. And you can also find the same page on Facebook if you go searching for more content and more revolutionary stories from geeks and nerds. I hope to see you all flourishing in the future, and I hope everything that we've talked about tonight comes to reality and comes to fruition, and we have that diversity that we so long for in Hollywood. So I thank everyone for joining me, and I really appreciate it. So long and good night.
Respect. Thank you.
Well, it's the NOC in full color, you see me? The hard knock life, comics, movies, and TV, yeah. Pop culture with a different perspective. Watch it on your screen, hit play, so check this. This is the hard knock life, but not the chica kind. More like the people in the world seeking perspectives with a different line. The kids who share the interest together with a similar kind. When they said Don Glover for Spider-Man, they didn't mind. The activists, directors, comments, and the lectures. Fanboys, professional artists, and professors. Maybe a nerd who's just like you, talking about the things that you like too. So I invite you to the NOC.